Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're doing well. I am doing my Monday practice, and yeah, we're just gonna get on with it. I always start with some mouthpiece buzzing. With mouthpiece buzzing, I'm always trying to make sure that things are even, that things are responding pretty well. Yo, Jeff, a happy Monday, man. Just got done with my mouthpiece buzzing. I don't know how long you have to stick around, but just made a new routine for myself. So it's week one, day one of pretty much everything I'll be doing. So how are you doing, man? Are you guys back to work yet in some capacity? Hey, Steven, glad you could catch the live stream too. I appreciate the comment on the mental rehearsal video. Um, Something I really, like I said, I totally believe in. And so if you have any questions, I'm going to do a little bit of it in this live stream. So if you're around, feel free to ask questions. If not, you can always check it out afterwards. But yeah, I appreciate it. And I hope that it can be something that helps your practice become effective and efficient and all that kind of stuff. So that's amazing. Full capacity, 18,000 seats. That's amazing, man. I bet you people are going to, I bet it's going to be full. I bet people are going to freak out that for you guys, live music is back. We've done a little bit of work here and there. We've been doing a lot of these like recorded performances. So it's like a performance, but they video captured it. Yeah, like we just did a concert 2 weeks ago that was Stravinsky Octet, Soldier's Tale, and then this other piece by Revueltas that has 8 players and some heavy trumpet stuff, and I ended up having to play the whole concert. So we're basically into the summer and not getting paid now, so we're officially done. But we did get a little bit of stuff towards the end of the season, which was, I don't know if I was feeling like, oh, I'm so glad to be back, but it was nice to be honest, it was nice to have some performances to test out some of these things that I've been messing around with my in my practicing. So I'm gonna keep diving in. Hey, Nico, how's it going? Glad to see you. I don't know if anybody caught um, my live stream on Instagram where I cleaned my instrument, but it's pretty amazing how much better it feels. Where my air feels like it's like moving and it's unobstructed instead of it being like have to kind of not force anything, but I just don't have to try nearly as hard to play smooth and flow. It's pretty amazing how I learn this lesson all the time, and it's annoying. DCI, what's going on? How are you today? Okay, so it has occurred to me while I was playing that if anybody's watching this right now, whether you're live or you're watching this later, and you're thinking to yourself, man, this guy's warm up is kind of dumb. Like he's just playing the flow studies and tonguing the notes and just kind of blazing right through it. This was not the case, a little over a year ago, and there might be some live streams that you can check out over a year ago that would sort of solidify this idea, or that like I wasn't warming up in the same way. And I think it was similar, but I've just built some of the skill through consistently trying to get a little bit better, right? I'm not necessarily trying to learn a particular skill in my warm up. I'm just doing the same. This is the only part of my practice that's exactly the same each and every day. And I use it as a way to sort of feel how things are going from day to day, and then also to gradually gain more confidence in my ability to articulate notes going up in the register, because I really not only thinking from my graduate teacher, Barbara Butler, not only thinking from her where she would say your ability to hold a high note like builds the strength to be able to use it, but then I like to try to tongue after I've held it for a second to learn where that note sits. So if I do have to actually tongue it, I have some sort of a relationship with where does that note go. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, let me know. But basically, I'm trying to figure out through holding the note and then tonguing where that note might sit when I actually need to tongue it. And so that's basically what I'm doing right now, and I'm just working my way up. I'll try double G, but we're pretty close to the end of my official warm up here, and then we'll dive in. I started a new routine this month, and so I haven't been on a fundamentals routine for like 6 weeks or so. So we'll see. This is week 1, day 1, and then I'm going to restart. I'm going to show you what this looks like, but I'm going to restart my Beach 10 program because I didn't quite get to a place of learning that would allow me to play my best on the first take when I tried to record it. So last little bit of the flow studies here, and then we'll move on. So as an example, I was tonguing that double G, so I kind of have an idea of what that feels like. So if I had to tongue a double G, I might know where to put it. Right, like, what's up, Chris? That's kind of what I'm trying to casually learn how to do in my warm up is just like where those notes feel like they go. Can I sort of casually learn where they play it? Can I casually learn like where they sit? Where is that sort of that slot, so to speak? So that's all I'm really trying to do. All right, so we're going to dive into the routine. When I do my fundamentals routine, I typically will play I have an A day and a B day. And so my A days for this, because I'm holding the B flat trumpet, I'm going to play my whole A day on B flat, and then I'll play my whole B day on C trumpet. So we're going to start with, I have top tones. Let's see, go here, and then we want top tones. Number 10, page 1. All right, here's number 10. Just picked this one at random, and the reason I picked this, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger while I talk. The reason I picked this one is because I wanted one that just had articulation, you know, like this skill that I'm building is the skill of being able to articulate cleanly. Yeah, I don't have an A trumpet. So your plan is not going to work for me. We're going to give this our best shot. I tried to pick a conservative goal tempo. The goal tempo is where I'll be in 4 weeks from now. So we want here. So this is going to be too fast. So I need to readjust I even picked a conservative tempo. My goal tempo I picked was 110. And he has written 126. So I'm going to pick 100 for my goal tempo. And then we'll come back. All right, 85. And I'm going to mentally rehearse this whole page. All right, so we talk about mental rehearsal. I've talked about it before in live streams. I just released a video. So I'm doing this to make sure I can understand everything, that I can understand where all of these notes go. I know I'm going to probably make some mistakes, but I want to try to find the pitfalls that are going to exist as soon as I can. So yeah. See that measure right there? I don't know. You guys probably won't know where I am, but this, I don't know if you can't see my mouse. It's this. Anyway. So I know this is like weird. And the other days that I have this exercise, the tempos will be slower, so I'll be able to catch more of this. But right now I'm just going to see where we're at 85 beats per minute. Okay. So this will be a good example. This did not go perfectly. And when we're trying to think about practicing and setting ourselves up for good habits and stuff like that, I generally try to think about my starting place, my starting tempo, trying to be someplace where I can get 90% or more of it the way I wanted. And I would say, let's say that was close to 90%. Was it perfect? No. But it's day one. And so in some ways for me, this was just trying to set this up so it's like, all right, this is a good place for me to start learning and putting the blocks together. I'll be at 100 beats per minute at the end, so thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. I'm very sorry to hear your story about playing for Chris Martin. I'm sure it was very embarrassing for you. And so this is an important part for me about practicing, where the goal is clarity of articulation. In this etude, some of the intervals are difficult. In this etude, obviously the range can be a difficulty, and you're getting all over the range of the horn. Not just that it's high, but you go high and low. And I want even and equal articulation the whole time. So I'm not concerned with speed. I'm concerned with quality in this difficult scenario, if that makes sense. So that's it for that. So we do that one time today. And then so now we will move on to Saxa. There we go. Saxa 81. So this one's going to be at the medium tempo range. So this will be one time at 78. For the sake of my face, I'm not doing multiple repetitions of this. Full disclosure, I played this in grad school, although I played it in, I'm going to play this up a third. So on C trumpet, this would be, up a third? Yeah, so it would be up a third on C trumpet, but I'm playing up a third on B flat trumpet. So nice, and this is like relatively slow. So I'm not going to mentally rehearse this. I'm going to see where I'm at. Next time I'll do some mental rehearsal. I'll bring this out next time because it's right here. Okay, so I also have this journal that I need to start writing in again. So I'm going to kind of share with you how I do a performance journal. So today's date is June 14th. So we have 6/14. We started practicing around, I guess we have a timer here. So 22 minutes ago. So we started practicing at about 2:20 p.m. And then we'll write a dash. So we warmed up. That was mouthpiece buzzing. And I'm just going to write the word good. That felt good. And then I'm going to write Chickowicz. And I'm going to write the word good. Basically, it's like a reminder for me. I'm either writing that it went well, like good or great, even if it went really well, or I'm going to write something in there that's a reminder of what I want to do. I'm not going to write anything like that was bad or sounded horrible or you suck. I'm not going to write any negativity into this journal. This journal is only you sounded great, or here is a instruction of how you want to do it better. So for top tones, I wrote rehearsal. So I did a mental rehearsal of that. For mental rehearsal, I'm just going to write the word focus because I want to make sure that as I do mental rehearsal next time, I bring lots of focus to it. And then for when I play, I write performance. So generally speaking, I think of mental rehearsal as rehearsal, playing as performance. So now in my practice, I have this rehearsal performance dynamic of I'm sort of practicing in my mind what I want it to be and then executing that like we would have an ensemble rehearsal to practice what we want to do so we can play the way we want during performance. So performance, all right, good. Even though it wasn't perfect, I'm just going to write good dash focus during slow. So that means for me, focus hard during the slow repetitions. All right. And like we're just looking at, let's see if you can see this. Right. So we're just looking at right here. You know, there's not a lot that's in it. It's not crazy. And then we're going to write Saxa 81. I'm going to write no rehearsal. And then I'm going to write the word performance. And that's where we're at. All right, so I'm going to play this at, I think it's at 78 beats per minute. And then I will make notes. I will either say good or I will make notes on what I want to focus on in the next repetition that I do in 2 days from now. All right, so just some notes that I didn't know. So digital, what do you mean by in real time? If you mean, am I transposing it as I'm playing it? Yeah. I learned this on C trumpet, though, so I know the fingerings pretty well, but actually having the different pitches from what I'm used to is kind of throwing me off a little bit, which is one of the reasons I wanted to do it. So we want to rehearse line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Line 6, measure 3. So rehearse line 6, measure 3 through 6. So what that means is I'm just going to mentally rehearse this right now. I'm going to try to get this in my ear, and then I'm going to mentally rehearse it ahead of time next time as well. All right, it's like pretty simple. I mean, and I possibly should have slowed the mental rehearsal down. We'll see, but basically, I need to build a mental model for this, right? I need to build a mental model of what this feels like, what it sounds like, what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm okay with that happening over the course of a few weeks or a few days. You know, like I don't need to have it right now at this moment. This helps me make sure that I'm giving due diligence to learning these pieces, but I'm not just staying on one of them for 30, 40, 50 minutes while I'm trying to make sure I'm making zero mistakes. So this is this is the way I balance that. I put a repetition. I do a little bit of extra mental rehearsal to make sure I'm getting a mental relationship with the piece. And then over the course of time, these issues will absolutely work themselves out. So if anybody has any questions about that, let me know. So we will take Saxa out of here. All right. So I always recommend my clients do violin, and I myself have never really done violin. So here we are. I basically have, on each day that I practice, I assign myself one of 3 different types of flexibility exercises. This one is going to work on sort of the, I guess you would say, flexibility, right? We're kind of go do dee do dee do dee dee do dee do dee do, where we're trying to get around the instrument. And what we want to do on this is make sure that our air is consistent and forward, and that we're playing in the center of all of these pitches. So I'm going to get a tempo. And we'll see how that works. The next exercise I work on will be one that's dead slow. It's actually towards the beginning of the book. So it's something to work on, making sure we're completely consistent in our airstream in terms of that the note doesn't we want to keep the air consistent. We want the note to be nice and full the whole time through, and we don't want to telegraph that we're going to leave one note and go to another. So we're basically trying to figure out, how do I blow all the way to the end of the note and then make these quick changes that we need to make. And you'll see what I'm talking about. And then the last exercise we'll work on is one that should challenge my current abilities a little bit. So we're going to go through here. I have a mental model for this already. I'm just trying to make sure I focus on keeping the air forward, and I want to keep this loose enough that I'm not tight, but that it's forward, and I'm in the center of all these pitches. See? Yeah, Rodney is correct. Violin. What are some good resources to learn about phrasing and musicianship? There's a few books. I don't have them near. I'm going to write them in the chat. I need to find them, though. Let's see if this is it. Here we go. All right, so my wife... Oh, I can't. All right. An understandable approach to musical expression. Apparently, I can't type in the chat from where I'm at right now. So an understandable approach to musical expression. It's like 40 pages long, and it's just the basics about music making, musical expression, where it will say, when you see this in music, this is generally how we interpret it. The next book that I would recommend, it's a deeper dive, is Sound in Motion by David McGill. And that's a great resource. I mean, it goes super into depth. It's kind of almost too much to deal with, so you're going to have to take it little bit by little bit. And that will help sort of give an understanding of basically Marcel Tabuteau's numbering system and his phrasing, musicianship ideas about how he created this system that would allow us to break down pieces of music musically. So those are two good places to start. This is something that I'm actually working on with my wife right now, so I hope to be able to provide some resources as well. So if you have any specific questions, let me know. But what I would find difficult, about phrasing in music, or what I find difficult rather, is just knowing what to do, when to do it, how much to do it. And I think, there are resources out there that will say, like, here's general rules about how to approach these things, instead of it being like, well, whatever you feel like it should be. Instead of that, it's like, well, here's how we generally do it. Learn that so you can sort of understand a framework for making musical decisions from definitely a dense read for sure. It's a good read, and you don't have to read the whole book. There's controversies and woodwind and interpretations and stuff like that. I think there's parts of that book that are not for anybody but woodwind players, but it definitely gets the juices stirring. And the things, if you want, like, kind of what I've been working with, the stuff about note groupings and the stuff about understanding how to use sort of chromaticism to drive musical interest, I think are two good places to start. I think they're two big bang for your buck things. If you understand note groupings and how to do that, and you understand how to identify phrases and then identify chromatic notes within a phrase, I think you can get a lot out of just those two focuses. So in terms of violin, my thought process, I did not do an incredible job with that. So I will tell you exactly what I'm thinking. Let me get it back up here. So what I was struggling with there, and what I'll write in this journal, again, I'm writing in this journal, what I'm going to write is commit to beginning. Instead of going ba-da-dee-da-dee-da-dee-dee and just going, I was sort of testing the waters, feeling things out, but that's not how it works. Like, we can't really play the trumpet that way in a consistent manner. So I need to go bada, and I got better as I went. But I will continue to work on that and focus on that. Now, you might ask yourself, why wouldn't I repeat that again? And that's a good question, and maybe I should repeat that again. But the reason I'm not going to repeat this again is because I'm really trying to build into my systems of practice the ability to know what to do the first time, so that I know what to focus on in performance the first time. I hope that makes sense. So I don't want to necessarily play this violin a whole bunch of times and get to a point where I sound the way I want to sound and go, cool, I figured out violin, because, like, who cares? That doesn't matter. What matters is if next time I can refer back to this journal and say, commit to beginning, and be like, okay, that's right. I need to hear that note in my head. Maybe I'm even going to mentally rehearse it or something, or a little bit, and then I'm going to commit to it. What I want to do is build a blueprint of exactly how to play this, so that when I encounter things like this in music, I can do it the first time because I know what the blueprint should look like. So to get back to your question, Digital, for me, I'm trying to focus on keeping the air completely consistent. So not like, but right, I'm not changing the air speed or anything about the air for the jumps themselves. And then the other thing is I'm really trying to play from the center of one note to the center of the next note. So I'm not making any of these notes half notes or anything. I'm not sort of going in a partial. I'm not making the low notes kind of partial. We've all heard that. It sounds like this. Right, we've all heard that. We've probably all done that. But what I'm really trying to think is think ba da dee da dee. And for me, this exercise in and of itself is not incredibly challenging. I've played stuff like this for a long time, but what is challenging for me about it is playing it perfectly. So that's why we're not moving on. So, all right, 77 beats per minute, page 7, number 3. So this is going to be that dead slow one I was talking about. And what we're going to try to practice here is perfect note changes. So hold the note with a beautiful tone, and then note changes that are perfect right at the end. So we're not going da dee da, or on da dee do, just like you would probably sing it. I think it definitely has its place, Michael. I think the argument for that is we won't ever use all 3, 1, 2, 3, like your first example. We would never do that in real performance. And so changing the fingerings will mirror actual performance or actual trumpet playing a little bit more. And so I think it depends on the goal that you're seeking. I think if you're seeking more control in your playing, having the valves remain exactly the same and figuring out how to play like that is a good thing to learn how to do. My assumption is people like Phil Smith would be able to do that either way, and he's choosing to do it differently as opposed to it's easier one way or easier the other way.